And while she's pulling up her PowerPoint, I'll introduce her. So for the next half hour, you will hear about 20 stunning plants for your low maintenance garden. Our speaker, Juliet Bender, has been a Lane County Master Gardener since 2013, when she moved to Eugene, Oregon. However, she has been tending her garden for decades, both here and in the Washington, D.C. area. Over the years, she has planted a wide variety of plants, shrubs, and perennials, and has become familiar with their characteristics. More recently, Juliet has been replacing demanding plants in her garden with tough but beautiful plants to create a lower maintenance garden. Juliet is currently the president of the Lane County Master Gardener Association. I am pleased to introduce Juliet.
Thank you, Jan. It's good to be here this morning, and it's great to have so many people here with us. This morning, I'm going to spend the next 20-25 minutes talking to you about 20 plants that I have in my garden that I think are both beautiful and low maintenance. So I will let's see. And I've chosen these plants because they're all plants that I have experience with. I grow them in my yard, so I know what their characteristics are. I've had them in my yard for the most part several years each, so I know what they do in a garden. So I've chosen these plants for the two reasons. One, that they're beautiful and stunning, and that falls into the category of multi-seasonal interest and striking foliage and interesting texture. So that is the stunning aspect of it. And then the low maintenance is that there's little or no staking, dividing, or deadheading. Many of them are deer resistant. Many of them are cold hardy, long lived. Many of them are drought tolerant. And those that do flower have long lasting flowers that are bright and colorful. So those are some of the reasons why I chose these plants. Probably those of you that are listening have plants that you're familiar with that would fit this category, but that I don't have on my list. And that's mainly because I may not know those plants or have experience with them. So again, these two characteristics are for the stunning aspect, and these are all for the low maintenance aspects of them. So the first plant on my list, and I'm going to go through these in categories. The first category are small shrubs. These are usually shrubs that are no more than 5 feet, and mostly they're smaller in size. So I'm going to have a list of small shrubs, then I will have shade perennials, sun perennials, end up with some ferns and grasses that I love. So starting in the category of small shrubs, and also I want to mention that I do have a handout that Jan will put in the chat box that lists all these plants. So you can print out that handout and have that available to you after the talk. So my first small shrub is a blue star juniper. I've had these in my yard for a number of years, and they are beautiful. They only get to 2 to 3 feet tall and wide. They're evergreens, so they keep their color, their texture and shape for the entire season. They do not need really any pruning whatsoever. They're drought tolerant, deer resistant, full sun, and they have a beautiful texture with that silver blue foliage that they have. I usually plant these in groups of 3 around various perennials in my yard. And they do provide that beautiful texture and evergreen look in my garden. So my second shrub is Spirea, and it's one of the golden ones. This particular one is Limemound, but there are others that are yellow as well. But I love this shrub basically for its color. It really stands out. It's a full sun or light shade, and it does change colors in the fall. So that is the multi-seasonal interest of this shrub. It is deciduous, so it will lose its leaves in the winter time, but it does require very, very minimal pruning, and it is deer resistant. So I think that this is a beautiful shrub. It's small, gets to about 4 feet tall and wide at most, but it is a beautiful shrub, and it does have flowers that last pretty much all season long. These pink flowers here that will come back. They will bloom, and then they will recede, and then they will bloom again towards the end of the summer. My third plant is a yucca. This one is Bright Edge, but there are others as well. But I love the way these leaves are, the sword-like leaves, and the gold tips on these. And it just is very striking in a garden with this sword-like feature. And it does have blooms during the summer, but the blooms are not that gorgeous, I don't think. It's more the leaves that create the contrast and the texture in a garden. It's very cold hardy, long-lived, drought tolerant, and deer resistant. So I have several of these in my yard, and just they do provide a focal point, I think, in a garden. The next small shrub is a Mexican orange, and this particular one is called Sundance, and I have a lot of these in my yard. It is an evergreen shrub with stunning yellow leaves. You can see these yellow, beautiful leaves, and the sunnier the location, the brighter yellow the leaves will be. If it is in too much shade, the leaves will not be this bright. It gets to at most 5 feet tall and wide. It does have some flowers, but it's really the leaves that make the stunning aspect of this shrub. It is cold hardy, but down to about 10 degrees. So we may get some damage if there is a really, really hard frost down to below 10 degrees. But I just basically prune off that part of the shrub, and it will grow back as beautiful as it was. It is deer resistant, it's drought tolerant, and it does attract bees. So it is a stunning plant that I just love having in my yard. And then for heathers, I do enjoy a lot of different heathers in my yard, but this particular one I think is stunning. Firefly, mainly because of the color change in it. The foliage is chartreuse and yellow in the spring, and then it turns to sort of a salmon red in the summer, and then turns brick red in the winter. It is an evergreen, so it will stay, its leaves will stay year round. And in the summer, late summer, it has these pink sort of mauve flowers that are in August and September, which I think add additional interest to this shrub. It is deer resistant, requires very minimal pruning. You do need to prune it once a year, just so that it stays in shape. So usually once a year in February or March, because this is a summer bloomer, so you need to prune it in February or March, and basically just to prune off the flower heads. But it is a striking plant, small, it gets to about 1.5 to 2 feet tall and wide, full sun, so that it does have that change in color. You do need the full sun. Hydrangeas. Which garden doesn't look beautiful with a hydrangea in it? These are two of my favorites in my garden. Midori, this is the white mophead. here in this picture on the bottom. It gets to be about 3 or 4 feet tall and wide, but I love the white hydrangeas. And this is a particularly beautiful one that has lots of blooms. I have it under a tree and it sort of hugs that tree. So part shade is good, but it can also require, it can have certainly morning sun. And then if you don't have room for as large a hydrangea as this one, the Pia, which is the pink one above here, is much smaller. It gets to only about 2 feet tall and wide, very deep pink. And neither of these will change color based on the pH. They are true to their colors and will not change. This one will only be pink, will not change really to a blue. But they're cold hardy, very minimal pruning, once a year at most, and have just long lasting flowers that you can dry and are just gorgeous for a number of months. Now I'm going to move into some shade perennials. And one of my favorites for perennials in the shade are hardy geraniums, and particularly this one, Roseanne. The color is so gorgeous, whoops, with the white centers and the violet blue on the outside. And this Roseanne is great because it does bloom pretty much the entire season from May to October. And it requires no deadheading. And it does form a mound that grows about 18 inches tall and 24 inches wide. It's cold hardy, no staking or dividing. Can be pretty drought tolerant. So I think it's just a gorgeous plant to have. It can be in some sun. I would suggest more morning sun and or part shade. And it was the 2008 perennial plant of the year. And yeah, it blooms for a long period of time. So it is a gorgeous shade perennial. Brennera, this is one of my favorite shade plants, Jack Frost. Just look at that striking variegation on that leaf. It is beautiful with the contrasting green veins. So it will provide a lot of interest in a garden, visual interest. When people come to my yard, that's usually one of the plants they ask me, what is that? And it is gorgeous. It has these light blue flowers in the spring that you just deadhead. And it is deer resistant and drought tolerant. Bleeding Heart, gold heart, is one of my favorite in the Bleeding Heart. This gold heart does stay golden leaves, as you can see here, with the beautiful heart-shaped flowers. And it is a striking plant. It will die back by midsummer, but if you keep it moist, it will keep going for a little bit longer. The native plant for Bleeding Heart is this one up here, the Formosa. And this is also a beautiful plant that will spread nicely in your garden if you like the Bleeding Hearts. This is another striking shade plant, Jacob's Ladder. This variegated foliage is one of the most striking plants you can get in your shade garden. It does have some lavender blue flowers in the spring. It is cold hardy and deer resistant. You need no staking or deadheading. And just look at how each of those leaves are outlined in white. Just a striking plant for a shade garden, and does not get very large, up to 2 to 3 feet at most. Coral bells. I love coral bells. They are evergreen plants. They are compact and they have so many different colors and variegation in them. This one is the green spice. This one is obsidian, which is almost black, lime ricky, and then pear crisp. So you can just see the different shades and textures that these coral bells will provide to a shade garden. And they are evergreens, so they will last through the winter. Usually by spring, they're looking a little tattered. So as the new growth comes out, I usually just prune off the old leaves from the year before. But they're very low maintenance. And hostas as well. Again, you have such a variation of colors and textures and variegated leaves in hostas. They can be, slugs can be a problem with them, but if you get some of the really heavy corrugated leaves, like this Summon Substance here in the corner, they are pretty slug resistant because of the coarseness of the leaves. This one is wide brim, fire and ice. So you can just see some of the beautiful variegation of these leaves. These will die back completely in the winter time, but they will come out beautiful and bigger than ever during the next spring. Of course, they're not deer resistant and they're not really drought tolerant, but they are cold hardy and long lived. So I thought they were good to have in this list because they do not require much work at all, but are stunning plants. Now for some sun perennials. Yarrow, I think, is a beautiful plant that you can have, and moonshine is one that I particularly like. It's they form clumps of about 2 feet. They're very drought tolerant, deer resistant. There are various native species in the northern hemisphere of yarrow, and they do attract a lot of butterflies. So, but full sun, I have them in an area that gets no water, and they thrive in a drought area of my yard. Echinacea coneflowers. I think these deserve a place in pretty much any garden. There are native varieties of the purple coneflower, and they attract a lot of bees and butterflies to my garden. Full sun, they do require that. One of the particular varieties that I like is Cheyenne Spirit, which has the colors of the sunset. So this is Cheyenne Spirit, and as well as this. So it has shades of red, orange, and yellow in the same seed packet. I grow these from seed, and they are just stunning. They bloom for long periods of time during the summer and require very little deadheading, no staking, deer resistant, drought tolerant. So I think they definitely belong in a low maintenance garden. Agastaki, or Anise Hyssop. This is one of my favorite plants in my garden, and I grow a lot of these from seed. There are a lot of natives of these as well. They are deer resistant, drought tolerant, and do attract a lot of pollinators. Bees, hummingbirds, butterflies are all attracted to these flowers. The leaves are scented and they can be used for tea. This one is Golden Jubilee with its yellow flower, with its yellow leaves. It is stunning in a garden with its yellow leaves and purple flowers. This is one of the native species here, and this is the orange one. This purple one or blue one is the Agastache foeniculum. My pronunciation is not very good. But I think all of these are just gorgeous, the Anise Hyssop. Allium, I think there are lots of different alliums that are beautiful in a garden, require very little maintenance. One that I particularly like is the Millennium, which is this one here. Grows in clumps with these bright rosy purple flowers. And even once they're finished blooming, the seed heads are very interesting in a garden. And they're deer resistant, drought tolerant, no staking or deadheading. And there's so many different varieties. This one here is like this is called the Star of Persia, for example. But some of these I just leave in my garden after they're the flowers, just as an interesting feature in the garden, just the dead seed heads. Some of you may not be familiar with this plant, the Dwarf Plumbago, but I think this is a beautiful spreading ground cover. It only gets to be 8 to 10 inches tall with these electric blue flowers. It's gorgeous, and it's cold hardy, long-lived, deer resistant, although the deer may eat some of these flowers, but it's drought tolerant, no staking, deadheading. And it is a beautiful feature in the garden with these electric blue flowers, especially when they bloom in late summer to early autumn. And the ground cover will turn scarlet in the fall when it starts losing its leaves. So it is also a stunning plant in the garden. Sedum, there are so many different varieties of sedum that one can have in a garden. And I think they are beautiful, especially in a drought tolerant area where you don't have a lot of irrigation. These are some of the ones I have in my garden. Cape Blanco is this one. Plum Dazzled is this one. This is Angelica. So they grow well in rock gardens. They're very cold hardy, long-lived, drought tolerant, and they do attract a lot of bees, butterflies, and hummingbirds because all of these will flower. So when they are flowering, they do attract a lot of pollinators. They will require full sun, but just a beautiful ground cover for around rocks or in your rock garden. So my second to last plant is the autumn fern, Brilliance, and that is this one on the far left. It is partial or full shade. It is a semi-evergreen, and it does stay pretty much evergreen year round. And it's one of the few ferns that have a seasonal color variation. In the spring, the fronds are coppery with the new growth, and then they turn greener in the summer and then a rusty brown in the fall. So it is a beautiful addition to your garden just because of that color change that it provides. It is deer resistant, as are all ferns, and drought tolerant for the most part. May need a little bit of water here and there, but it's one of the more drought tolerant ferns, as is the native sword fern, which is here. I have a lot of native sword ferns in my garden, and they are quite drought tolerant as well. And in the middle here is the Japanese painted fern, which I think is also quite beautiful with the striking leaves, the silvery leaves that are on it. I think it provides a lot of interest to a shade garden as well. These are all partial or full shade in order for them to provide their best foliage. Otherwise, they will dry out if they are in full sun. And lastly, some grasses. These are all grasses that I grow in my yard and that I am particularly fond of, especially the Japanese forest grass. This I have a lot of in my yard, and I love the yellow color of it that creates just a beautiful tone in the garden. I use it as along a path to form a path in my front yard. And they're just graceful mounds of arching yellow leaves. And they will turn sort of a coppery color in the fall and will die. So you will need to cut them back in the wintertime. But then they will grow again in early spring. So they are beautiful. They are deer resistant and just a beautiful addition to a yard. And two other grasses that I like. This is the panicum hot rod that I have. These are stand upright. They are totally drought tolerant. I give them no water during the year and they stand upright. And then lastly is this Carl Forester, which you see everywhere these days in people's yards, but I think they are striking, just a great fall grass that has the beautiful plumes on the top. So I think these are some of the grasses that I particularly like and know, but there are many others that I'm sure you're more familiar with than I that might fit this category as well. So that is all I have. There's a little bit of time for some questions if people have them. I know I went through that pretty quickly, but I only had a short time.
Great. I see one question here for you. Can allium bulbs be moved to another area? And when should be the best time and method to move them?
Yes, they can be divided certainly or moved. I would suggest the fall would be the best time to do that.
Okay. Are there any other questions out there? Well, doesn't seem to be any other questions. We can.
And there, again, just a reminder of the handouts that if you are interested in seeing these plants on paper, they're all there in the handout.
Oh, a couple more did pop up real quick here. We got 2 minutes. How do you prune a hydrangea?
I usually just prune off the flowers to make sure all the flowers are, if the shape is good, then I just basically prune off the flowers is all I do for the hydrangea. Okay.
And is a Anise Hyssop a perennial?
Is Anise Hyssop what?
Hyssop, is it a perennial?
Yes, it is. It is a perennial. Yes, they will come back. The Golden Jubilee that I showed can be a little bit sensitive to cold, but some of the others definitely will come back year after year.
Okay. And do you have any suggestions for plants under fir trees?
Under fir trees. Well, any of the shade plants that I provided, any of those can go under fir trees. I have them all under fir trees, and then they all work really well. So any of the ferns, the coral bells, any of those, the hostas, all those would work well under fir trees.
Okay. Okay. Several thank yous and a great presentation, Juliet.
All right. You're welcome.
Thank you. So next we'll have Erica. And while she's setting up, I'll give her introduction.